By the time you hit 40, small shifts in hormones, sleep cycles, and inflammation can quietly steal hours of clear thinking and make simple tasks feel exhausting. If you're blanking on names, zoning out in meetings, or needing more coffee just to get through the afternoon, this isn't laziness. It's a solvable biological pattern. First, I'll break down the real reasons your focus slips at midlife and give you 7 science-backed fixes you can start using today to sharpen attention, recover memory, and feel less frazzled. You'll learn which daily habits actually worsen fog, which quick swaps deliver measurable gains, and how to combine movement, nutrition, sleep tweaks, and simple cognitive drills into a 2-week plan that produces noticeable results. Stick around through the end for a 3-minute reset you can do anywhere and one surprising habit to stop right now. Try these for 2 weeks and you'll know which changes work for you. And if it helps, subscribe so you don't miss the full step-by-step routine coming up. Estrogen's impact on cognitive function. Estrogen is not just a reproductive hormone. It acts like a fuel and a regulator for brain circuits that handle focus, memory, and verbal skills. Many women notice lapses in attention, trouble finding words, or muddled short-term memory as estrogen levels fluctuate, because estrogen receptors cluster in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, regions crucial for working memory and executive function. Clinical research links these hormonal changes with both subjective complaints and measurable declines in tasks requiring attention and verbal recall, particularly during the perimenopausal transition. Everyday examples include blanking on a familiar name in conversation or losing the thread of a work task mid-email. Short, sharp moments like that are often driven by neurochemical shifts rather than a failing brain. Addressing the problem starts with understanding mechanisms. Estrogen enhances synaptic plasticity by increasing dendritic spine density in hippocampal neurons and by facilitating long-term potentiation, which underlies learning. It also modulates neurotransmitter systems, cholinergic pathways for attention, serotonergic pathways for mood and sleep, and dopaminergic circuits for motivation. Those actions translate into clearer thinking when estrogen signaling is adequate, and into foggier cognition when signaling dips. Additionally, estrogen supports cerebral blood flow and glucose metabolism, so energy delivery to neurons is more efficient under its influence. This combination of structural, chemical, and metabolic support explains why changes in estrogen map so directly onto problems with focus. There are science-aligned strategies that address estrogen-related cognitive symptoms. For some people, hormone therapy can reduce brain fog symptoms, especially when evaluated and timed appropriately by a clinician. Evidence suggests benefits are more likely when therapy is initiated close to the onset of hormonal transition, though risks and individual factors must be weighed carefully. Plant-based compounds like soy isoflavones have produced modest cognitive benefits in some trials, acting as weak estrogen agonists in certain brain tissues. Results are mixed, but they may be an option for those seeking non-prescription alternatives. Lifestyle moves matter too. Regular aerobic and resistance exercise raises brain-derived neurotrophic factor and improves insulin sensitivity, both of which synergize with estrogen's neuroprotective effects. Improving sleep quality reduces nocturnal hormone disruption and restores attentional resources. Short-term cognitive training can shore up specific weaknesses while biological treatments take effect. Putting it together means creating a practical, personalized plan. Start by tracking when lapses happen and what precedes them. Poor sleep, heavy alcohol nights, or skipped meals are common triggers that amplify hormonal effects. Bring concrete examples to your clinician. Document 3 episodes of word finding or attention failure, and note timing relative to menstrual changes or menopausal symptoms. Ask about hormone evaluation and discuss the pros and cons of systemic versus localized therapies, timing considerations, and how your health history, family risks, cardiovascular profile, affects options. Meanwhile, prioritize consistent sleep, a mix of aerobic and strength training, and steady meals to stabilize glucose. Consider a supervised trial of soy isoflavones if medications are not desirable. Take action now. Track a week of cognitive slips, schedule a consultation with a clinician who understands hormonal cognition, and pair that medical conversation with immediate lifestyle steps, sleep, movement, and nutrition, that amplify estrogen's protective role in the brain. Inflammatory foods to avoid. Chronic, low-grade inflammation in the body often shows up as stubborn mental fuzziness, and a surprising number of common foods are powerful triggers. Many items found in convenience aisles and restaurant menus are engineered for taste and shelf life, not brain health. They push immune signaling, alter the gut microbiome, and create metabolic stress that can blunt focus. Cutting these foods back is the most direct step you can take. Start by removing obvious culprits: sugary beverages and sweets, refined carbohydrate-heavy pastries, and white flour breads. Swap a cola or sweetened coffee drink for plain sparkling water or unsweetened tea. Replace a cinnamon roll with plain Greek yogurt topped with berries and a sprinkle of nuts. Small changes like this reduce blood sugar spikes that promote inflammation and cognitive fatigue. Processed and ultra-processed foods deserve a specific call-out. Items labeled contains partially hydrogenated oils, high fructose corn syrup, or long ingredient lists full of additives are red flags. Trans fats and many emulsifiers and industrial seed oils can promote systemic inflammation and disturb beneficial gut bacteria. Processed meats, think sausage, bacon, and deli slices, often contain nitrates, nitrites, and compounds formed during high-heat cooking that are associated with inflammatory pathways. Fried fast food and heavily charred meats generate advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which are inflammatory and can impair cellular function over time. Refined vegetable oils high in omega-6 fatty acids, corn, soybean, and some sunflower oils are another target. In typical Western diets, these oils are consumed in excess relative to anti-inflammatory omega-3s, shifting biochemical balance toward pro-inflammatory signaling. Alcohol in excess is also inflammatory and disrupts sleep and gut integrity, both crucial for clear thinking. Artificial sweeteners and certain additives can change gut microbial composition in ways that some studies link to worsened metabolic inflammation. Sensitivity varies between individuals, so pay attention to how you feel after consuming them. Practical implementation matters more than perfection. Read labels for partially hydrogenated and long, unfamiliar ingredient lists. Cook with extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil instead of cheap seed oils. Opt for whole food breakfasts, eggs, oats, or smoothies with spinach and avocado, rather than muffins or donuts. When eating out, choose grilled fish or vegetable-forward dishes instead of deep-fried combos. Meal examples: swap a pepperoni pizza for a homemade flatbread with olive oil, tomato, arugula, and canned tuna. Trade fries for a side salad dressed in lemon and olive oil. Fermented foods like plain yogurt, kefir, kimchi, and sauerkraut can support a healthier gut ecosystem, though they're not a cure-all. Start small and track changes. Reduce one category of inflammatory foods each week and note energy, clarity, and mood in a short daily log. If brain fog persists despite dietary shifts, consult a healthcare professional to rule out underlying medical conditions and to personalize an anti-inflammatory plan. Take action now. Clear the pantry of obvious offenders, plan 3 simple swaps for the week, and observe how shaving inflammatory triggers from your diet affects your focus. Importance of deep sleep cycles. Slow-wave sleep, the deepest phase your brain reaches each night, is when the nervous system does some of its most critical maintenance, clearing metabolic waste through the glymphatic system, consolidating memories from the hippocampus to the cortex, and downscaling synaptic strength so networks remain efficient. This is not optional downtime. Without enough of this restorative sleep stage, neural circuits that support attention, working memory, and decision-making become sluggish, which is exactly what people describe as brain fog. Many people over 40 notice this subtle decline because slow-wave sleep naturally fragments with age, and because modern habits, late screen use, alcohol, irregular schedules, chip away at that deep sleep opportunity. Start by treating deep sleep as the single most important target for reducing daytime cognitive blunting. Practical changes can push more minutes of slow-wave sleep into your night. Fix your bedtime and wake time so your circadian rhythm strengthens. Move vigorous exercise to earlier in the day to amplify sleep pressure at night. Cut alcohol and heavy meals close to bedtime because they fragment slow-wave stages even if they help you fall asleep faster. Short naps late in the afternoon should be avoided since they reduce sleep drive and can blunt the depth of the subsequent night's slow-wave sleep. For suspected sleep apnea or heavy snoring, pursue evaluation. Restoring uninterrupted breathing with CPAP or other treatments reliably increases time spent in deep sleep and often clears cognitive fog. Physiology explains why these changes matter. During slow-wave sleep, large, synchronized neuronal oscillations facilitate the transfer of recently learned information out of the hippocampus, creating stable long-term memories and freeing up short-term storage for the next day. At the same time, the lymphatic system becomes more active, flushing out metabolic byproducts that accumulate during wakefulness and impair synaptic function when they linger. Hormonal repair also happens then. Growth hormone pulses that support tissue repair and metabolic regulation are tied to deep sleep. When fragments interrupt these processes, the brain wakes feeling less refreshed, attention falters, and multitasking becomes harder. Integration into daily life is straightforward but requires consistency. Design a wind-down routine that begins the same way every night. Dim lights, cool the bedroom to a comfortably cool temperature, and replace blue light devices with non-stimulating activities like reading on paper or a short relaxation practice. Time your last caffeinated drink and heavy meal several hours before bed. Use regular morning light exposure and a fixed wake time to strengthen circadian cues. Try moving training sessions to the morning or early afternoon. Many people report deeper, more consolidated sleep when exercise is completed well before bedtime. If tracking sleep stages with a wearable helps motivate behavior, use it as a rough guide only. These devices estimate slow-wave sleep and can be misleading, but trends often reveal whether changes are working. Take action with a 2-week experiment. Pick 3 changes: consistent schedule, earlier workouts, and a device-free wind down. Then track morning clarity and daytime focus. If cognitive fog persists despite better habits, seek medical evaluation for underlying sleep disorders, mood disorders, or medication effects that can undermine deep sleep. Prioritizing slow-wave sleep is a practical, high-impact way to sharpen attention and resilience after 40, and small, sustained changes often deliver noticeable gains in mental clarity. Hydration and brain electrolytes. The adult brain makes up a tiny fraction of body weight, but demands a disproportionate share of resources, about 2% of mass, while using roughly 20% of resting energy. Water and dissolved ions are the invisible scaffolding of that demand. They shape blood volume and flow, set the electrical charge across neurons, and control the release of neurotransmitters that allow you to focus. Even small losses of body water can translate into slower thinking, fuzzier attention, and an uptick in headaches and fatigue. Mild dehydration has been linked in studies to declines in attention, working memory, and mood. So this isn't just feeling thirsty, it's a direct hit to the chemistry your brain needs to run smoothly. Fixing the fog starts with practical hydration habits and making electrolytes part of the plan. Plain water is effective for day-to-day maintenance, but when you sweat heavily, skip meals, or take certain medications, you lose salts and minerals along with fluid. Sodium and potassium are the core players for the electrical pulses neurons fire. The sodium-potassium pump uses energy to keep cells polarized and ready to transmit signals. Calcium and magnesium regulate neurotransmitter release and receptor sensitivity. When those ions drift out of balance, signals slow, networks misfire, and focus fragments. The mechanisms explain the symptoms. Changes in plasma osmolality trigger hormones like vasopressin to conserve water, altering cerebral blood flow and cell volume. That subtly shifts how neurons communicate. Low sodium, for example, can blunt neuronal excitability and cause confusion, while low magnesium can increase irritability and make it harder to sustain attention. Food choices can help restore balance. A banana or a handful of nuts delivers potassium and magnesium. Yogurt and leafy greens contribute calcium and magnesium. A pinch of salt on a meal supplies sodium. Coconut water provides a natural, lower-sugar source of potassium compared with many sports drinks, and low-sugar electrolyte powders let you replenish salts without a sugar spike that can itself disturb cognition. Make this practical. Start the day with a full glass of water, and include an electrolyte-containing snack if you haven't eaten for hours or plan to exercise. Check urine color. Pale straw indicates adequate hydration. Darker amber suggests you need more fluids. If you take diuretics, some blood pressure medications, or certain antidepressants, talk to your clinician about how they affect salt and water balance. Medications can blunt thirst or increase electrolyte loss. During long meetings or intense work blocks, sip water regularly instead of relying solely on coffee. Caffeine can be mildly diuretic and, without replacement fluids and salts, contribute to the slow decline in focus. Act now. Carry a bottle, set reminders to sip, and add potassium and magnesium-rich foods to meals. If you experience persistent brain fog, dizziness, or dramatic changes in urination or appetite, get checked. Simple blood tests can reveal sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium levels and point to correct, targeted fixes. Small, consistent changes to hydration and electrolyte balance can sharpen concentration more reliably than another stimulant or an extra hour of screen time. Stress management techniques. Chronic stress elevates cortisol and shifts brain resources away from the prefrontal cortex, which is the area responsible for planning, focusing, and holding information in mind. That biochemical tug-of-war is why simple tasks feel foggy, attention becomes brittle, and working memory shrinks. You don't need to overhaul your life to start reversing that pattern, but you do need deliberately chosen tools that lower sympathetic arousal and restore cognitive control. Start with breath-based resets because they are portable and immediate. Slow diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale deeply into the belly, pause briefly, then exhale more slowly than you inhaled. Activates the parasympathetic nervous system and lowers the physiological markers of stress. Do this for a few minutes before a difficult task or after a triggering email. Progressive muscle relaxation is another quick anchor. Tense a muscle group for a few seconds, then release and feel the difference. Move systematically from feet to face, and you produce an immediate sense of groundedness. Both techniques reduce the racing inner monologue that eats working memory. Mindfulness and cognitive reframing address the thinking patterns that keep stress cycling. Short, guided mindfulness practices that focus on the breath or a single sensory object reduce rumination and improve attention control over time. Cognitive techniques borrowed from CBT, labeling automatic thoughts, testing evidence for alarmist beliefs, and deliberately choosing an alternative thought, break the link between perceived threat and the stress response. Combine these with micro-behaviors, a 2-minute grounding exercise before meetings, a 10-minute walk after lunch to reset attention, or a deliberate pause and name it when frustration spikes. Small, consistent habits beat occasional marathon attempts. Lifestyle anchors amplify the benefits of targeted techniques. Regular aerobic movement, even a brisk walk, improves mood and executive function. Prioritizing sleep hygiene, dark room, cool temperature, consistent wake time, helps the brain clear metabolic byproducts and consolidate memory. Create digital boundaries, scheduled blocks of deep work with notifications off, and a short ritual to close the day from screens to lower evening arousal. Social connection matters too. Sharing brief frustrations with a trusted friend or partner reduces cortisol and reframes problems, making them less mentally sticky. Choose one simple practice and test it for a week. Keep it tiny so you'll do it. A 2-minute breathing break, a nightly 3-step wind down, or a post-lunch walk. Track how you feel and whether focus returns during the most foggy parts of your day. If stress-driven fog persists despite these changes, consult a healthcare professional for tailored strategies. Combining behavioral techniques with professional guidance often produces the fastest and most sustainable restoration of clear thinking. Neuroprotective nutrients and supplements. Neurons aren't just slowing down because you feel forgetful. They're reacting to inflammation, oxidative stress, lower mitochondrial stamina, and subtle nutrient gaps that become more common around 40. Small, chronic shortages of B12, vitamin D, iron, or choline can translate into fuzzy thinking and poor attention. Elevated homocysteine, for example, is associated with worse cognitive performance, and restoring B vitamins to normalize it often improves clarity in people with deficiencies. Targeted nutrients and supplements can protect neurons and restore the biochemical scaffolding your brain needs to focus. Long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, support cell membrane fluidity and synaptic signaling. Randomized trials and meta-analyses link higher EPA/DHA status to better attention and mood in adults. B-complex nutrients, especially B12, folate, and B6, help methylation and lower homocysteine, which matters for vascular and cognitive health. Choline sources like ceticholine, CDP-choline, and alpha-GPC supply the raw material for acetylcholine and are associated in trials with improved attention and reaction time. Creatine isn't just for athletes. It buffers cellular energy and has shown cognitive benefits in tasks requiring quick thinking, particularly under metabolic stress, such as sleep loss. Antioxidant strategies matter too. N-acetylcysteine, NAC, raises glutathione, curcumin and resveratrol act on inflammation and brain signaling pathways, and flavonoid-rich foods and extracts, berries, cocoa, support vascular and synaptic function. Mechanisms explain why these choices make sense. Omega-3s integrate into neuronal membranes, changing receptor function and neurotransmitter release. B vitamins affect 1-carbon metabolism and neurotransmitter synthesis. Ceticholine donates cytidine and choline for membrane repair and acetylcholine production. Magnesium L-threonate is formulated to cross the blood-brain barrier and has encouraging evidence for enhancing synaptic density in preclinical work and modest cognitive gains in early human studies. Practical formulation matters. Curcumin is poorly absorbed unless paired with an absorption enhancer, piperine, or delivered as a phytosome. Choose NAC or glutathione precursors if oxidative stress or toxin exposure is suspected. Be mindful of interactions. Omega-3s and ginkgo can affect bleeding risk, and St. John's wort alters many prescription drugs and confirm deficiencies with basic labs: B12, folate, vitamin D, ferritin, thyroid, homocysteine, before assuming supplementation is the only answer. Integrate supplements into a bigger plan for the best return. Start by testing and correcting clear deficiencies. Then layer evidence-backed agents tailored to your symptom pattern. For fogginess with low energy, prioritize creatine and B12 if deficient. For attention lapses, consider ceticholine plus omega-3s. For persistent brain inflammation, look into curcumin formulations and NAC under guidance. Pair supplements with a nutrient-dense diet rich in oily fish, leafy greens, and colorful berries. Regular aerobic and resistance exercise to boost brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and consistent sleep to consolidate gains. Choose third-party, tested products from manufacturers that list active compound amounts. Begin one new supplement at a time and allow several weeks to judge effects. If the fog won't budge, act like a detective. Get the basic blood work. Make targeted dietary adjustments. Try one science-backed supplement at a time and track changes in a simple symptom diary. Talk with your clinician or pharmacist about interactions and quality brands. Then pick a clear trial period, 8 to 12 weeks, to see if focus improves. Small, strategic nutrient changes often reveal surprisingly big returns. You're not suddenly scatterbrained. Your body is changing, and your brain is reacting. The real reason focus fades around 40 isn't weakness or willpower. It's a mix of sleep and circadian disruption, subtle inflammation and metabolic shifts, stress hormones, and less novelty in daily life. The good news? Science gives us 7 practical fixes you can start today. Prioritize deep, consistent sleep and align your days with natural light. Move your body every day with a mix of cardio and resistance to boost circulation and neurochemicals. Clean up your diet. Cut refined sugar, eat more protein, fiber, and omega-3s, and consider time-restricted eating to stabilize blood sugar. Actively manage stress through brief breathing, mindfulness, or short walks. Keep your brain challenged. Learn a new skill, vary routines, play strategy games. Get routine medical checks, thyroid, hormones, inflammation markers, medication review, because many treatable issues mimic brain fog. Small, sustained changes compound into real improvement. Start simple. This week, commit to a consistent bedtime, 20 minutes of morning light and movement, a protein-rich breakfast, and a 5-minute midday breathing break. Track how you feel for 2 weeks and then layer in a strengthening session, a dietary tweak, or a doctor's appointment. Habit stacking, anchoring new actions to existing routines, makes these changes sustainable. If this resonated, do one small thing tonight and tell me which fix you'll try in the comments. First, read them, and it helps others. Like and subscribe if you want practical, evidence-based steps, and share this with someone who says, "First, just can't focus anymore." Next up, first, we'll break down a 30-day brain fog reset plan and a bedtime routine that actually improves deep sleep, so stay tuned. You don't have to accept fuzzy thinking as your new normal. Small science-backed steps, repeated, will bring your focus back,